Scott. Here's how the final whistle, the full-time whistle, was greeted near the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Celebrations for France. Second time they are champions of the world. And they reckon there'll be hundreds of thousands of people on the Champs-Elysees, as there were 20 years ago when they won it for the very first time. I think there was 1 million people on the Champs-Elysees that night. It might get up towards those kind of numbers this evening for France. As the boys were saying, they won 6 out of 7. The match they didn't win was a meaningless game against Denmark. It was actually the worst game of the tournament. I think that was a pretty unanimous verdict. But Eamon, give me your verdict. France the champions.
Yeah, a magnificent final. And the first thing you'd have to say is, if there can be magnificence in defeat, Croatia showed it. They were absolutely superb in their attitude to the game. And I think France, you know, in a match like this, people can be diminished and they can be sterile, big finals, or people can grow. And I think in Pogba, Mbappe, and the whole French team, with Varane and Titi, we saw people grow over the 90 minutes and become world-class players. And there's Didier Deschamps, who won it as a captain of the French team in 1998 and in the Euros 2 years later. So it's a great day for France. I think it's a great day for soccer. It was a wonderful final. And for the Croatian people and their team, they should be extremely proud. They will be hurt, but when they wake up tomorrow morning, I think they will be proud and say, this was one of the finest days of our life.
Yeah, it's been historic for them. Surely they wanted it to end, of course, with the trophy, but not to be for Croatia. Liam, France?
Yeah, France. Yeah, deservedly so over the 90 minutes. The gods conspired against Croatia with, you know, was it a free kick that Griezmann got? And then Mandzukic deflects it past his own goalkeeper. Was it a handball by Perisic? Had he got a chance to get out of the way? It made it really difficult for them. But they fought all the way. I think the French defence was absolutely excellent. Let's face it, Croatia got their second goal only down to Loris making a terrible mistake. But they're together. The goalkeeper's inconsolable, Subasic. It just wasn't their day. It could have gone their way. They've been a tremendous team in the tournament. I think the French defence was key to it. They have 2 excellent full-backs. The central defensive partnership of Varane and Umtiti, they didn't go under with the strength and physicality of the Croats. And in Griezmann and in Mbappe, they always had that threat going forward. Classy players, Griezmann. Mbappe, what a young talent. He can go all the way. Pogba, you have to give Deschamps enormous credit. Most disciplined Pogba I've seen consistently over 4, 5, 6 games. Great final, as Eamon says. I hope he gets man of the tournament. Modric, I think he was actually outstanding again today. Eamon mentioned about Kante, looked out of his comfort zone, and I think it was down to the fact that he was up against Luka Modric. But no, worthy winners. Congratulations to France, and well done Croatia for a magnificent tournament.
Indeed, you know, looking at those pictures, it's great to win, it's horrible to lose. We saw Lovren in tears, Modric with tears in his eyes, Griezmann with tears of joy. The right winners?
Absolutely. After the first 15-20 minutes, they settled down. Croatia was the better team in the first half. But if you play so well and you are behind, and obviously 2 decisions went against them, it is demoralizing, because they had so many times been behind in the tournament. They always found a way back, but at some stage the tank is empty. We talked about before playing extra time 3 times. I think they played a part in a brilliant final. What I like about this French team, that they've got brilliant players going forward, but I think all the forward players, I think they sacrificed parts of their individual brilliance for the team. You saw Griezmann defending, getting free kicks, doing the right thing for the team. Pogba had a couple of flashes of brilliance going forward, but he was more impressive going backwards, winning headers. shielding the ball out of play, making that defensive work that you have to do to be a top team. And even Giroud, who hardly did anything going forward, but he won his fair share of defensive headers. I think that was part of the reason he stayed on the pitch for so long. He just formed. We see him here, Didier Deschamps. He was the ultimate team player, and I think what he did as a player, what he stood for, he instilled that into that group of players. And France always had a history of self-destruction, but it was completely the opposite. And I fancied them to go far. Didn't think they're quite as good or settled to be winners. But I've got no doubt in my mind that the right team won the World Cup.
Eamon, is that one of the big trends in this competition, that, you know, of course we get drawn to the individuals, the big stars, you know, Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, Hazard, but in this competition, and we see that with the winners, that it's the importance of the team, a united group. The individuals are great, but you've all got to pull together if you want to win this.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. It's a team game, and Deschamps made a controversial decision in relation to Karim Benzema, for example, who's a regular with Real Madrid. He left him at home, and one or two others as well, because he realised, and he was a great leader himself as a player and a great player, he realised that it is a team game, and that group were united, had to be united, and anybody who would disturb that or in any way interfere with it or not be part of it was no good. And Deschamps was famously or notoriously called the water carrier by Eric Cantona. It was a disparaging remark.
It was unfair, yeah.
Yes, but it was meant to disparage. Now, Cantona was the ultimate individualist. Not to say that he didn't make a great contribution to Manchester United, but he was an individualist, and he was disparaging the values of a player like Didier Deschamps. But Deschamps has gone on to leave his mark in the game now. And the same, to answer your question, it is a team game, and the ethos of the team must be respected. And I would say every Manchester United fan who watched that match, and indeed Mourinho, if he has any reflective bones in his body, how did Deschamps get these performances from Paul Pogba? Today, above all days, he did it. If Deschamps can get it, Mourinho should be looking for it. And if he's not getting it, Manchester United fans are entitled to ask, why not?
What do you think, how do you think, Liam, that conversation with Pogba took place with Deschamps? You know, because I think I've read some quotes from Mourinho. He's working for Russian TV, and he's saying, oh, Pogba's playing with great maturity. But they seem to not get on. How did Deschamps get the better out?
I'm sure, like all the great coaches, he told Pogba what his team responsibilities are first and foremost before anything. And Pogba's bought into it. He's bought into playing alongside Kante, who wasn't at his best today. He bought into playing alongside Matuidi. They were a strong force in that middle of the park. But the thing I want to say, they must be the best producers of footballers now in the last 25 years, the French. Incredible that they've produced another team after '98. You think you got Kante, you got Pogba, you got forwards like Griezmann and Mbappe, and central defenders like Varane and Umtiti, good full-backs as well. You know, you've got to hand it to the planning that's gone into Clairefontaine and what they produce. Compared to the big nations like Germany and like England, they've got it right there, and that's why they're the world champions.
Well, and for the second time, and I mean, you touched on this, like the list of players that were left at home. It was, I think, 14 of the squad from Euro 2016 when they had that heartbreaking experience losing to Portugal. 14 of that squad not here for a variety of reasons. And if you'll allow me, players like Zuma, Sissoko, Sakho, Digne, Benzema, Martial, Rabiot, Payet, Lacazette, Kingsley Coman, Ben Yedder, Debuchy. They weren't even in the squad, and you know, like
wouldn't make a bad team.
I tell you, that'd be a good team. 12 players, and we stick Mandanda in goal.
Yeah, but 8 years ago, in 2010, in the South African World Cup, the French team went on strike, and it was a day of shame for French football. And Patrice Evra was one of the people who was on that strike, and I think that made its mark. They humiliated football, and in the eyes of their own nation. and it took a long time for that to pass. And Deschamps, I was able to
put the house in order, didn't he?
Yeah, and he
put the French house in order, definitely.
And he would have been a choice for the French Federation because of what he is as a man, what he stands for as a man. And these are things that sport vindicates. They're good values. You know, it is a team game, whatever you're doing. So, and those guys, look at Deschamps. He would respect Croatia, a small nation. We can, you know, identify with them and how they feel now. You know, God does seem to favour the big battalions sometimes.
Well, actually, we understand that the French, like we've seen it in the two major European finals this season past, the French are going to do a guard of honour for the Croatian players. Didi, just to talk about Croatia for a moment, you know, the big moments in the game, you think the VAR, the Griezmann thing, like, and as the lads have said, the gods can conspire against you. The big moments in this match went for France, and went against Croatia. So they've got to be feeling a bit of a sense of injustice, have they? Yeah,
they probably do, because the longer you keep it tight, the longer the legs will keep going. And for me, the turning point was that first goal, even though they equalised a few minutes after. That first goal would have been a body blow. And this is a goal that shouldn't have stood. We may have the chance to talk about VAR afterwards.
We will.
You know, it's there to make the game fairer and give us a better or a fairer result. Now, this free kick shouldn't have been given, and that's why you've got to make a case. Either we do everything or we do nothing, because even though, or only because the free kick has been given 30 yards from goal, you can't challenge it, or it's not been looked at by the video assistant. If this had happened in the penalty box and a penalty would have been given, it would have been overruled. So, you know, I think there's things to tweak. Whether it will make the game fairer and will give us the right result in the future, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, we're about to see the presentation of the runners-up medals for the Croatian players. You know, Eamon, we're talking about Deschamps and like he, after the first game, he went real attacking. Dembele was in and all that sort of thing, and Giroud wasn't in the team. But since that, and they sort of fell over the line beating Australia. But since then, it's... well, up until today, it's been kind of more pragmatic France.
Yes.
Like the Belgians didn't like the French style of play in the semi-final, and it's fair enough to do that when you lose. But the team has evolved and grown.
It does, and I don't think a coach can factor in the degree to which a player will grow in a match like that. You just have a guess and you have a hope that Pogba, no one could envisage him performing as he did today, I don't think. Mbappe, you feel they can grow, but you don't know until today. I mean, sometimes a game, I'd be interested in Didi and Liam's opinion, sometimes a game can change a player's mentality, his confidence, give him more, because he's been through the crucible of that 90 minutes, and this is the biggest of them all. So I think that can make a man never be the same again and be a better player. I don't know what Liam and Didi think. Didi's been there.
Didi?
Yeah, I'm sure he can. Well, I think confidence has never been a problem with Pogba.
But I'd say at times in the season, and again, like he was criticised in this room, he was criticised all over the world by many people.
He was dropped by Manchester United a number of times.
In the key games, wasn't it against Sevilla in the Champions League? Like his confidence must have been on the floor.
100%, but there was a reason for it, because if a manager belittles players in public, it doesn't do no good. And
Did he belittle them though?
Well, I think he belittled. I think Mourinho belittled other players, maybe not Pogba, but I don't think he ever had that reassurance, the confidence Deschamps gave him. If you've got a player like him, I think on the outside he's a very confident man. Yeah. I think on the inside, I think it might be quite the opposite. I think he's a player who needs an arm around his shoulder. And this is where we talk about modern day management. It's not only what you say, it's how you say it. And you've got to approach these guys. You just read a list of these 14 or 15 players who are not there. They're not there for a reason. Yeah, either you buy into the philosophy of the manager, and I give you my trust, and I give you my confidence, and I give you reassurance that you're part of this team, or you don't. If you're not, then you're not in the team. If you are, you've got all my confidence and all my reassurances. And I think that's what Deschamps did. You know, some of these players, they sacrificed, as I said, some of their own individual brilliance for the team. And to an extent where you say, well, actually they're not that good to watch, but what they are, they're functional and they're successful. And if everybody puts the team ahead of themselves, he would have said them before the start of the tournament, we could be World Cup winners. Now they are.
Yeah, and like, well, okay, just to come back with Pogba, Liam, you know, like, he's a World Cup winner now. Whatever else he does in his football career, that can never be taken away.
Are we now a scorer in a World Cup final?
Are we now talking about him as a world-class talent, a world-class player?
If he plays consistently like he's done this World Cup...
So it's too soon now?
No, if he plays, well, let's see what he goes on in the season. He's obviously happy in the environment, in the French environment there. And you've got to give Didier Deschamps, what a wonderful thing to do, to go around and say well done to all the Croatian players. It's not about him. He's a humble guy, Didier Deschamps, but he's very decisive. He took Kante off early in that second half. Kante looked a little bit lost, and he put Nzonzi on, and Nzonzi came on and made a huge difference. He held that midfield together. So he's not frightened to make the big calls. He's not frightened to leave those guys at home. So he's got the best out of Paul Pogba without any doubt, you know.
I'm someone who said on air here, I think, certainly everywhere else I could get a chance to say it, that I couldn't envisage Paul Pogba with a World Cup winner's medal because he'd been so disappointing at Manchester United. But there you go. Managed and coached by Deschamps, and in that group of players, which again you have to go back to, where he's comfortable and respected, and where he respects the values, he's responded to that. Manchester United going there as the most expensive player in European history, that's such pressure. Now that pressure is off him. Let's hope now Mourinho can foster and create team spirit at Manchester United that allows that young man to flourish. Because no one wants to say Paul Pogba's no good. Everyone wants to see the Paul Pogba of today, including me and everyone who loves football. And I think he's grown visibly. In the 7 games it's taken them to get to the final, he's made a massive contribution to this final and winning the World Cup with France. That's a life changer. It's a game changer for him, I hope. Yeah.
Will he be in your team in the tournament, though, when we get to talk about that in a little while?
Didi's changing it as we speak.
It's too late for that.
Is it too late? Oh, we can have late editions. There can be a change at the 11th hour. Just with, you know, with France, with how important their win 20 years ago was, Eamon, if you want to talk about that, because, you know, it's a country you know very well. The makeup of the French team represents and mirrors the makeup of French society, and it was maybe a false dawn 20 years ago that it was a very important win for multicultural France.
Yes.
Now, it's not that they're hoping that you know, it will be a very important win for multicultural France now, but, you know, they needed this to happen, as the Croatians did, I know, as well.
Yeah, I think it didn't. In 1998, there was a hope that what the multicultural team would feed back into the society, and it didn't. In fact, if you have Netflix, there's a documentary that sadly shows how it didn't. Lilian Thuram, who scored 2 goals in the final, never scored a goal in his life in the semi, to get them into the final. He's a very intelligent man, talks sadly about that. And France is, like many countries, you know, racially divided. They won't, I think, expect so much this time as they did in '98, but it cannot fail to give the French more security about their identity as a nation and the nature of it. Kylian Mbappe is from a banlieue in Paris, a poor area with youth unemployment rates of 25%, and he comes from a very humble family, but he is rightly respected, not just for his ability, but for his qualities as a man and as a young man. So it can only do good for that country and its identity, where, you know, there is bad politics, there's racism and extremism, and this is a kick in the teeth for people who are inclined to be divisive in that way. This is a great victory for France. And
Liam, for Croatia as well, you know, there has been over the last while a bit of a, what's that fancy word, a disconnect between the Croatian fans and their federation, and indeed in political life as well, because of all the troubles in their past, but alleged corruption in the federation and all that sort of thing. But their supporters, and I know there could be issues for Modric and Lovren down the line, but their supporters have reconnected with their team, and the public in Croatia have gone mad for this team.
Yeah, well, that's what determination and effort can give to the fans. You know, they know that their team has given absolutely everything. They had to come back 3 times in the knockout stages to get through. The resolve they showed, the determination, is a word I keep using, would only make you proud. And I'm glad it's united things. Let's hope that Modric and Lovren can sort out these issues and they can clean up the corruption in Croatian football. But they were worthy finalists. If things had gone a little bit differently in the first half, they could be the champions now. But the French got there in the end. And in my opinion, and I think all our opinions, deservedly so.
We just got a glimpse there of Hugo Lloris looking, they're showing the match highlights on the big screen in the stadium, and he got a laugh out of the Mandzukic goal. How different things could have been that he's able to laugh about it now, because our reaction here and yours when it happened was, oh my God, carry us, here we go.
Yeah, he'll be picking the World Cup trophy up in a short while. I don't know what's going through his head, the captain, an experienced player, because there's still about 25 minutes to go. It only takes a deflection or a corner and it's 4-3. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's game on in a game of that significance. He's laughing now, but I'm sure he'll be learning, and I'm sure it won't happen to him again, because that was, Croatia was gone, and they let him back in. But then again, I think Croatia showed what a spirited and what a united team they are, and I really take my hat off, because even at 4-2 down when they've been gifted a goal, 20 minutes to go, after all the games they played, after all the extra times they played, they still kept going. Had a couple of decent opportunities where crosses come in. Couldn't find the third goal, because if they did, I think we would have had a game on our hands. But they lost nothing in defeat. They've been absolutely brilliant throughout the tournament.
Even Mandzukic chasing that ball, chasing after that ball, showed what Croatia were all about, Dara. It was 4-1, what was it, 15 minutes left. He could have said, oh, I'm gone now, that's it. He chased after it and made Lovren, made Lloris make that mistake. Here it comes, here's the World Cup coming out.
Say goodbye, Didi.
Philip Lahm delivered it earlier on. We saw him doing that. We saw Emmanuel Macron there. We saw Putin there. Infantino, the FIFA president, is there. Well, we had 6 goals in a World Cup final for the first time since 1958, when Pelé and Brazil, in regular time, when Pelé and Brazil won 5-2 in Sweden. Today, well, yesterday was Bastille Day in France, so today is World Cup Day for them in Moscow. It always seems to rain in that stadium, but it's France's day. Congratulations to them and commiserations to Croatia. We're going to look at the key moments of that second half, and Eamon, we'll start with Paul Pogba's goal, the goal that put them 3-1 up.
Yeah, brilliant goal, and he was involved early in the move. Watch this, and this is him. Beautiful first-time pass, absolutely gorgeous to Mbappe, who's got the pace, of course, but Pogba keeps going, backing it up, and as you'll see, Mbappe does well to pull it back. Griezmann lays it off, and it comes back to Pogba second time, and with his left foot, which isn't his best foot, he tucks it away with great presence of mind. Mbappe does well here, actually, shows he's not just a runner, he has the presence of mind to check back. This is Griezmann being typically unselfish, one of the few strikers that is unselfish, and that's a beautiful goal, and that really is Pogba. A vital goal, World Cup final, and it's a great moment for him, and it seals the game for France, seals the deal.
Yeah, and it got even better 6 minutes later, Liam, when Mbappe, the teenager, scored.
I think the keeper made a mistake by moving to the left on Pogba's goal, and he also does it again here. But it was great for this young lad, like 19 years of age. One of the youngest players to have scored, Pelé.
Him and Pelé,
yeah. But Subasic just moves a little bit to his left, and he can't get back because the ball's not really going in the corner. And it was like that for Pogba's goal as well. he just seemed to get himself unbalanced, the goalkeeper. But it was a great shot, and he you know, I think the keeper thought he was going to his left, and he just smashed it to the near post. Smashing goal.
And Liam, would you have an issue over, remember Subasic in the Russian game, he seemed to have a hamstring injury. Now he's past fit today for the semi-final against England and all that stuff, but you would put those errors that he made there down to a misjudgments rather than lack of spring or a hamstring problem?
Misjudgment, yeah. He's going to his left a couple of times. He's probably anticipated wrongly that the ball was going to go that side, and they've beat him on the near post. Two good goals, but Croatia didn't give up, did they?
No, they did. They did not, indeed, and they kept going all the way to the end. But 68 minutes. The Champions League final, remember that, wasn't it? The Benzema goal was bizarre. This was up there with it.
Yeah, it was. I think it was as bad as the goal Liverpool conceded in the Champions League. I've not got a problem if this is a technical error, if it's a miscontrol. I've got sympathy. I've not got sympathy for a mental error. And God knows what's going through his head, because Mandzukic, he doesn't want him to kick with his left foot, because his left foot is, so he says, come on, if you want, take it on your right foot, you may miss-hit it and we got a chance. So that's all in his mind. So he closes him down from his left-hand side, yet he still wants to play to the left-back. So no idea what went through his head, and yeah, it's a mental error, which is, for a player of his stature, I find it hard to accept. You know, if he spills one, if a miscontrol, no problem, happens. But a mental error must not happen. Because
Ronnie on commentary said they're the sort of things you do when you think you've won.
100%, and this is why it's a mental error, and this is why I've got very little sympathy. And
in fact, Diddy said he would kill him.
Yes, but he didn't really mean it.
Yeah, he did.
But the game was finished, because you could have had the nicest 25 minutes of football. If you play in this game, you're 4-1 up. Croatia, they didn't give up, but they were gone. So you could have played the last 25 minutes. All of a sudden, you've got to start again. And there was a very tricky time. The 5 minutes after the goal, if they had got another one, I think there was every chance we would have seen a turnaround. And to let teams in with such a mistake is just not acceptable. Fortunately, Varane and Umtiti kept everything together, and he didn't get much to do afterwards.
And France are the champions. Eamon, Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Well, this is a selection of his play from the match, and it's really interesting that the confidence and the quality of that pass to Mbappe. And this is what you see here: quality, 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 and energy. Beautiful ball again to Mbappe, which puts him into a position where he can have a strike on goal. And this is what we hope we see in the Premier League. This is his own goal again. Again, aware of Mbappe's pace and playing to that. Inch-perfect pass, about 40, 50 yards that pass, reminding me of John Giles at his best, or Liam Brady. And again, calm, cool, collected. And that made it 3-1. And that really was the killer blow as far as Croatia were concerned.
Have you noticed something about Pogba this tournament? There's no fancy haircut.
Yeah.
No haircut.
He's got a normal haircut. Yeah. Normal haircut.
It might have, Jean might have had a word.
Well, you know what I mean. It's just he's one of the team. He's not trying to stand out as an individual, and he played like that.
Because I suppose, look, before this tournament started, knowing the way Deschamps has built this team, looking at the players he left at home, I suppose all of you would have felt, well, Pogba doesn't necessarily, because what we've seen at Old Trafford doesn't necessarily fit with that new team ethic. So he's surprised you, yeah?
Yeah, and I think Deschamps really believes in him, but he's given him a discipline to his game that he doesn't always have.
I think his agent has encouraged him to stand out in this way. And Frank Lampard, who is a very conservative and respected football guy, said he called him a YouTube footballer. In other words, I think Raona, his agent, has encouraged him to get famous, to sell shirts, to be on YouTube every day with something new, the colours of your opponents, and that kind of thing. I think Deschamps would have cut that out.
I think the key to Pogba in the French team is his attitude, his mindset, and first of all his defensive work. Because when you've got a player like him who likes to go forward, if he doesn't do his defensive duties as he does at United, the players lose faith, or his teammates lose faith in the player. And I think that was the difference. He did the dirty work first. That gave him a right to play football, and that he can play, we saw today.
Well, he and his teammates spoke in the build-up to this game about trying to make up for the disappointment of what happened in Paris two years ago. They certainly have done that, and now they've got that second star on their jersey.